bring in Charles Davis, college football analyst for Fox Sports. He joins us now on the program. Who was the most impressive quarterback yesterday, Charles?
It's easy to say Mariota because of his gifts, but I think Cardale Jones from the second quarter on became the most impressive quarterback because I thought that Alabama would come at him with a different force than obviously Wisconsin did, and we all were waiting to see, could this guy who was third on the depth chart actually hold up in a game where the pressure was on? Because let's be frank about it, the Wisconsin game wasn't pressure as it turned out. There's pressure going into it, but from about the first throw he made in that game, it was a pretty easy night for him. We knew it wouldn't be an easy night against Alabama, and it turned out not to be. And early in the game, they were struggling. He was struggling. And then the offensive line for Ohio State got better. And once that happened, he was able to find his groove.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we forget that even the third-string quarterback at one of these schools was a great quarterback in high school. I mean, it's not the NFL where you bring in a guy and maybe he's not equipped to do the job. These guys, when they come into these programs, they're coming in to start, right? I mean, they're expecting to play.
You're exactly right, and what's unusual about Ohio State's position right now is that we're going to be talking about in the spring 3 guys who have starting experience in big games and have won big games for Ohio State. 2 of them have been mentioned legitimately with the Heisman Trophy, talking about Miller and Barrett, and no one transferred. In this day and age now, if you don't win the job right away, what does the guy do, Chris? It's gone.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. See ya. And we talk about that all the time. That has not happened at Ohio State. I'm not saying that it won't because we have a huge battle looming in the spring. But your point about these guys coming off the bench and being legitimate guys is well taken. Think about it when you watch an NBA game and some guy we haven't talked about in forever comes off the bench in a January game in Game 4 of games in 5 or 6 nights for the NBA and puts 20-plus on the board. And we're like, who was that? Oh, yeah, that's right. Let me go back and trace his career. He averaged 25 a game from the time he was 4, except now he's in the NBA, and he can't get off the bench because this is the best of the best.
If Ohio State starts J.T. Barrett in this game, do you think they have the same result?
I think they have a similar result. It's a different style, though. Here's where Urban Meyer didn't get enough credit going into the game. What was the narrative going into the game? As usual, you give Nick Saban 3 to 4 weeks, he'll game plan, take away everything you do. Well, we act like the guy on the other side of the field isn't going to look at his team, check tendencies, and find ways to break them and self-scout. When we had Cardale Jones in the Big Ten championship game on Fox, when we had that game versus Wisconsin, the bulk of his runs, and there weren't a ton of them, guys, but the bulk of his runs were sideways runs, similar to what Braxton Miller would do, similar to what J.T. Barrett would do. My opinion going into this game was that Urban Meyer would notice that Cardale Jones at 250 pounds is not going to move it side to side quite that well. More quarterback power, more straight-ahead quarterback run game, similar to, wait for it, Tim Tebow. Dak Prescott. Oh, that's right. Tebow played for Meyer at Florida. Dan Mullen was the offense coordinator. Oh, that's right. He has Dak Prescott at Mississippi State. These are bigger, thicker quarterbacks who are not going to beat you to the corner, but they may beat you up in the hole. What were the biggest runs that Ohio State had last night outside of Ezekiel Elliott at the quarterback position? What did Cardale Jones do? Took it up the middle on quarterback power and had much better runs.
Charles Davis joining the DP show here on a Friday. Let's keep the QB talk going and talking about Oregon crushing FSU yesterday. Who was bigger upside, Mariota or Jameis Winston?
I think Mariota does. I think because when you look at him athletically overall, I think he's a better athlete than Jameis Winston. Been asked this question a bunch recently because we're getting ready for draft talk, ad nauseum coming up. And if someone asked me who would I take to run an NFL team 1 week from now, I'd probably take Winston because he does more NFL things already because that's been their system. But over the long haul, I'm a huge Mariota fan. He'll have to learn a few things, change his footwork, change some other things. but I don't think for a second he's a kid who can't adapt and thrive. And when you see the gifts that he has running the ball, when you see the gifts that he has in terms of how his team relates to him, wants to play for him, he may have that persona of the hang-loose kid from Hawaii. But let me tell you something. Every one of us, if we're in his way to try and win a football game, he'd take all of us out and wouldn't even blink.
Now, Winston downplayed his next move after the game yesterday. In your opinion, do you think he's played his last game in college?
I'll be surprised if he's back in college next year. I would really be surprised if he would go back. Personally, I think for him, going back would be a great move for this reason. I think he needs a year that's clean, off the field, no issues, where we only talk about him as a football player, not about all the off-the-field gaps that we've seen along the way. I think that would go a long way towards reestablishing him as a safe pick. Right now, when he comes out, if he does choose to come out, you guys know what it's like. When he goes to the combine, you get those 15 minutes in front of every NFL team. Those will be the most scrutinized 15 minutes of the combine for these NFL teams who are going to pick high and need a quarterback, because they'll be vetting everything they possibly can, plus they'll be doing it off the field as well. Give him a year that's clean, where we go, you see that? He's a college kid. He made mistakes younger. He's growing up. Now he's got to answer these questions and say, yeah, I'm growing up, but someone has to believe him, and I'll leave it with this. This is where Johnny Manziel hurts him, because we had those questions last year about Manziel, his growth, his maturity. Is he growing up? Guess what? He didn't answer them in the positive, did he? So now if you're a team that's looking for that next kid, you're looking back at past history. Are Winston and Manziel the same kid? No. But you're going to also say to yourself, well, they took a chance on Manziel. He didn't live up to it. Will Winston live up to it? It's a huge question mark.
Yeah, but talent speaks at the end of the day, right, Charles? I mean,
Always
I agree
does.
with you on the Manziel comparison there, but I mean, this guy's he's more physically equipped to compete in the NFL than Manziel was when he left.
He is, but still, at the end of the day, it's that guy leading your football team, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that guy's the face of your franchise. It's that guy that you've got to count on. And here's an easy counter too. Teddy Bridgewater got doubted, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because of one pro day. The truth of the matter is, Teddy Bridgewater was the top-ranked quarterback, checked off every box you wanted in leadership, toughness, ability to relate to teammates, no problems off the field, everything. He ends up going as the last pick in the first round because Minnesota traded back in to get him. You think they'd like to have a redo on that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Winston, I can tell you, having seen him in person, in shorts and working out, I will tell you this. Don't be surprised if his pro day workout, if he comes out, is not the most impressive you've ever seen, because he doesn't look that great translating into all the stuff you're talking about, having a pro day that's off the charts. It would not surprise me. But when you turn the lights on and it's showtime, the kid is money. So that's what pro teams are going to have to evaluate, too. I would hope that they won't get so involved with how he looks in shorts and judge his game tape more. And then, of course, they have to do that digging into why did he have so many off-the-field issues at Florida State? Are they things that will go away with maturity and time? Or are those things that we really need to have a red flag about? The pro teams have their work cut out for them.
He's Charles Davis, college football analyst for Fox Sports. He's working with SeatGeek this college football bowl and playoff season. Got about 30 seconds left, Charles. When you look at the week the SEC just had, do you chalk it up to a bad week, or do you say it says something about what the SEC really is this year?
Oh, I think it's a combination of both. I think the SEC gets a pass for a lot of reasons, and I think they're legitimate. They've won all those national titles. But I said it early in the year. I stood by it. I caught a lot of criticism when I said Ole Miss and Mississippi State were not two programs equipped to run the distance. Why? They don't have that program DNA, haven't been in that spot before. They had to prove it to us all. They weren't quite able to get it done, still had remarkable years for both of them. But then you look at the matchups, TCU was good enough to be in the playoff four, and they had something to prove, and boy, did they prove it. Georgia Tech just kept getting better. When I came within 2 points of beating Florida State, that's a good football team and a good program. I tipped my hat to them because I thought they were overrated going into the season. I was wrong about that. So sometimes your matchups really mess you up, but the country is going to revel. Those who are not SEC people are going to revel in the fact that the SEC had a rough bowl season and the playoff season, and now the rest of the country gets their attention.
Good to visit with you, Charles. Appreciate the time, and enjoy the national championship game.
I certainly will. You guys take care of yourselves. Happy New Year to you all.
That's Charles Davis, college football analyst for Fox Sports here.